All right, one more series, an old Patrick Division rivalry. Pittsburgh Penguins, New York Rangers. This is just the 8th time ever they've ever faced each other in the playoffs. I thought it'd be a lot more than that. First time since 2016. Chris Kreider is the only Ranger that was on that team. In the season series, the Rangers went 3-1. The Pens, of course, scored just 4 goals. Shesterkin dummied them. I think 3 of those games are a shutout. As for the series, it's pretty much a pick-em, man. You can see what you got there, Merles. I had Rangers 115 in the series, minus 115. Game 1, they were minus 120, which I'm kind of surprised because Pittsburgh's starting goaltender, Tristan Jarry, suspected broken foot. He's going to be out for at least the first 2 games. They are going to Casey DeSmith, who, by the way, he had a kind of a rough season, but he actually finished up real nice his last 5 starts at the end of the season. 3-2 with the 2.24 goals against, 9.40 save percentage. So, if he can come in as this hot, we'll see what happens. But Shesterkin down the other end, most likely the Hart Trophy winner, a possible MVP candidate. We'll see what happens there. Let's go to the Wit Dog first as a former Penguin. What do you got, buddy?
I'm so confused by this series. When I saw Pittsburgh was the favorite, I was really surprised. I think it's going to be a great series. I'm so confused that Pittsburgh will be favored based solely on the goaltending. I know I keep leaning back on this, but it's like nothing is as important as goaltending in the Stanley Cup playoffs. And you look at the guy who could be up for the MVP this year versus the Penguins' backup, and I just see it's going to be so hard for Pittsburgh to score goals. I think they played 4 times this season. The Rangers won the last 3. Shesterkin was dominant. He did wave goodbye at them. And I think at the time we said, that's a little bulletin board material. He was waving goodbye to his Russian buddy, Evgeny Malkin. And let's see if that really pisses off Pittsburgh enough. Now, the season Crosby had wasn't talked about enough. He was on a 100-point pace had he played all the games. Malkin's season's been up and down, where some nights he looks phenomenal, and Penguins fans, he kind of drives them crazy, I feel like. And then sometimes he disappears. So what Malkin will you get in the playoffs? But I don't know. I look at the Rangers and the year they've had. I guess the reason being Pittsburgh is favored is because they're 5-on-5. They're a better hockey team. And 5-on-5 success usually kind of fast forwards to having longer playoff success. But as I think it may go 7 games, I just think it's so hard to bet against a team with Shesterkin in net. And with Adam Fox on D, I think he's the best defense in the series. The big question mark is, can Kreider continue the success? Because if they were to play a series and he gets 1 goal or is held off the score sheet, I mean, then you're looking at probably a Pittsburgh win. I mean, you can't have a 53-goal guy, how many have he got this year, and have him go cold in the playoffs. But for some reason, I feel like he could go cold. I don't know, maybe just kind of a hunch. But I'm picking the Rangers in 7. I hate to do it, but it's the same thing with Toronto and Tampa. I'm going with the goaltending.
Biz, what do you got, buddy?
Sometimes instead of going with my head, I go with this thing in here.
Your Leafs jersey?
My gut. No, my gut, you idiot. And in my gut, I think it's going to come back to that wave. They have created a monster that they have no clue what's coming, the New York Rangers. I think Shesterkin's in for a very long series. I think that they're going to put on the fucking thinking caps, and they're going to find a way to solve this New York Rangers team that they weren't able to in regular season. They got strength down the middle. I completely agree. Malkin's season's been up and down like a yo-yo. He needs to get back to his dominant self. But oftentimes people forget the fact that they got a third-line center who's got 2 cups under his belt with the LA Kings as well. So you're getting Crosby, Malkin, and Jeff Carter. And if those guys can continue to control the middle of the ice just like they did when they went back-to-back cups against San Jose and Nashville, I think that's what you're going to see. I think the only MVP in the series is Sidney Crosby, as you mentioned, on pace for 100 points this year. I don't think Shesterkin deserves it. If anyone else deserves it, it's Austin Matthews. I also mentioned the riverboat gambling style of play sometimes, and how they like to open things up in order to produce that offense 5-on-5. They lean heavily on that style of game and also the power play. I think that there's no way Pittsburgh's going to give them the amount of power plays that they were used to seeing all season long.
Does it worry you how poorly Pittsburgh played to finish the year?
No. It doesn't.
Their overall team D, which was top of the league, went back to the middle of the pack. Their penalty kill went back. It's just like it's been a really awkward downward spiral the last month and a half. For me, it's hard to overlook that. I mean, how you play going in usually matters.
And who knows, maybe they were planning on trying to drop out of that seed, so they ended up meeting Carolina. I don't know what their thinking was. I don't know why they were playing so shit. But we're into a different season now, one that these guys are very, very familiar with from a core group standpoint. So no, I don't put any fucking type of weight on the end of their regular season. Now, I didn't have the chance to go back and look at their stats on how they played leading into the 3 cups that they've won as that core group together. But I'd imagine it doesn't have any bearing on what ends up happening as soon as the puck's dropped. Because the last few seasons, I want to say they had strong ends to the season. They ended up getting bounced in the first round by the fucking Islanders. So to go back to my thinking, I think that this is a fired up group. I think they're well aware that this is going to be the end for this core. I don't think that they're going to all be able to stick around. And I just think that New York doesn't have that playoff experience. And I think they're a bunch of fugazis.
Merles, what do you got?
I loved your stat here. 16th straight playoff season for the Pens. Just happens that I stopped playing for them 16 years ago.
Oh, nice.
What a loser.
That's a nice tidbit.
So I go by. There's a few simple rules of gambling. Number one, if you're going to the game, you always take the home team in the over.
Yup.
Rule number 2 is Game 7. You should bet the under. Rule 3, you never bet against Sidney Crosby. The guy could lead a men's league team to the Cup Finals. That's his leadership and his skill. But I'm going against the rules. I got the Rangers. I got the Rangers in 6 games. Shesterkin's too good. Zibanejad is too good, or however you say the name. Another Swede.
Zibanejad.
He's got a hamburger place in my hometown up there, a chain. Great burgers. I like the Rangers. I like Avery down here. Me and him will be rooting for them for this whole run. Rangers in 6.
Grinelli, what do you got?
Rangers in 7, and it's just as simple as like I don't want to live in New York after having picked against the Rangers. These fans can be kind of ruthless, so I'm going with the Rangers because I'm afraid of their fans.
Biz, I was texting G some. What did you have? What did you have again?
I'm gonna go Pittsburgh in 6. I didn't say the number of games. I
Pens
usually
in
like to
6.
hear everybody else's first, but I cannot wait to see this Rangers team implode. And this is coming from a guy who had them making playoffs, and I put a Charles Barkley guarantee at the beginning of the year on it. And by the way, for those people wondering, each of us went 10 for 16 on who was going to make playoffs.
10 for 6.
So
10 for 6.
10 and
6. I'm sorry,
he was
10
right.
and 6.
10, you were,
10 and 6.
Oh, you were right.
10, yeah,
You were
10.
correct.
Oh, thank you. But so there's no bragging rights on that front. So going into the season, I would say though that if based on probably the worst pick you should be eliminated from the crew was the Seattle Kraken making the playoffs. You had on
Me?
right?
You picked Seattle to make
He
the
picked
playoffs,
Seattle.
Biz?
Yeah.
No, RA did. RA did.
Yeah, I thought that the
Oh,
division was
Jesus.
trash. Yeah, I mean, at least I didn't bet on it.
I said
Or-
It's saving
I said
grace.
Nashville was going to be a lottery team. That was a tough look.
I think we also all had Philly making it.
Yeah.
So I guess we can all fuck off.
No.
I had
Biz,
Philly
you-
winning the Cup.
Biz said you are an absolute buffoon if you don't have the Philadelphia Flyers making a run at the Cup this year.
That's
his
that,
line.
that was word for word I said?
yeah.
Okay. Well, nice.
All right.
We're all buffoons.
Also, too, we will be live streaming Game 1 of the Pittsburgh, New York series from Hoboken tonight. If you're listening Tuesday, it's going to be on the Spittin Chiclets YouTube channel. Check it out. Check out our
Tons
social
of guests
media
from
as well.
Barstool, too.
Yeah.
Tons of people from Barstool are going to stop by.
And we're going to have plenty of advice, especially on the Merle's front, going into the game on what he's thinking, what we're thinking, what good odds are. So pay attention to all the social channels this afternoon on Tuesday. And it's great having you here because I'm a bit of a rookie when it comes to gambling. So I'm going to lean on you heavy here.
Just fade me, Biz. That's the only thing you
Okay.
need.
Oh, yeah, that's
You need-
right.
That's
We've
all.
had great luck when we've been down here. We hit the first goal scorer when we watched
Yes,
the
we
Flyers game there.
Yeah.
We've had some good hits. We've hit a lot here in the
Pasternak
playoffs.
last year.
Pasta,
we had
we
Pasta
were on.
start playoffs last year.
Yeah, we have good vibes down here. Toronto, we went up to Toronto together. You hit Matthews in Toronto to win. Like, we have good vibes.
Yeah, you do.
So I've mentioned 2 wild card names on who I think could possibly have breakout playoffs. I said Mikheyev and I said Trent Frederick. Do you guys have any names that you're thinking of like all of a sudden you're like this guy's going to become a household name where maybe he wouldn't have been before going in?
Eric Holla. Definitely.
Oh my fucking god. Fucking kid.
I don't, not off the top of my head, I didn't.
No, I know it
Yeah.
wasn't a question that we
yeah.
prepared for. I just wanted to throw it at you if there was any
You know what? I think for the Rangers to go on a run, which I actually believe the Rangers could make a run at winning the Eastern Conference, I think Strome would have a monster playoff for that to happen. So not necessarily a breakout guy. Like, people know Strome more than Mikheyev or Frederick, but he's a guy who would have to be money for the Rangers to have success.